Policy choices are personal. From experiences my kids have in their public school classroom to the childcare costs that we once faced when they were young, policy choices, though, are also about community. I know that the fate of my family depends on the well-being of my community. This is a great state, and if you're like me, you really love this place. The natural beauty of the mountains and the coast, and above all, the people who get to know your name and become your community. Because I love this state so much, there's a story I really need to tell you about it. The story involves villains and heroes and your two favorite characters, taxes and public budgets. Okay, maybe not. But if you love North Carolina, you need to hear this story. Let's start in the present day. If your community is like mine, it seems a little bit dysfunctional. Sometimes my kid's bus doesn't show up to pick them up. Sometimes they have a long-term sub instead of a permanent teacher in their classroom. And you've probably noticed that it doesn't just happening in public schools. Some people have to take an entire day off if they want to get a driver's license to wait in a line at the DMV. Some families can't find affordable childcare for their babies. How is it possible in this great, prosperous state that basic services aren't working well and the basics are getting more unaffordable day after day? Why, in our state, do we still not have a budget? We're the only state in the country without one. Who dropped that ball? To understand what's happening, we need to talk about this place, the North Carolina General Assembly. We need to talk about the most important policy for the state that it gets passed each year, our state budget. And we need to talk about taxes, which are how we come together to fund the things that our community needs. Back in 2013, before the General Assembly started cutting income taxes, our state taxed corporate profits in line with our neighbors to fund public school buildings and more. But in the last decade plus, the corporate income tax has been slashed, and it's scheduled to be totally eliminated by 2030. Personal income taxes are being slashed too, which disproportionately benefits the richest North Carolinians. These tax cuts for corporations and the wealthy have come at a very high price. If we still had 2013's tax code today, we'd have $18 billion to spend on teachers, childcare, and housing. Why are they doing this? Too many of our leaders have forgotten that it's people that fuel our economy. Instead, they want to focus on pushing North Carolina to be number one in business by slashing taxes. But what they aren't paying attention to is the fact that we're the worst state for workers 6 years running. Lawmakers made big promises about these tax cuts, that they would trickle down to the rest of us in the form of good jobs and more money in our pockets. But we know what's happened. The incomes of the richest North Carolinians have pulled away. And now, the lowest income North Carolinians are carrying the heaviest tax load. They've actually experienced a tax increase over this period when you look at federal and state taxes combined. Meanwhile, the richest in North Carolina are getting a $74,000 tax cut a year. Proponents of the tax cuts said they would be fiscally responsible. States economists are forecasting that we will have a structural deficit in future years. That's when our public money doesn't actually keep up with the already inadequate level of state services, let alone from what we actually need. So we're at a crossroads. Lawmakers have to decide, will they continue down the path of eliminating the corporate income tax, or will they choose our well-being? We must demand our state legislators choose wisely. When they fund what people need to afford the basics like childcare and housing, they're making lives easier instead of harder, putting opportunity in reach, and supporting us all to be well. because when basic needs like safety, food, housing, education, and employment are being met, then we can also meet higher needs like purpose, social connection, happiness. The guarantee that everyone can be well is essential to our democracy. I've been doing this work for a while, more than 15 years, and I can tell you that as challenging as things are in North Carolina right now, there's a lot of reason for hope. Child care workers and families are speaking up, teachers are walking out, and as I hope you can see in this picture, while people might be mad, they aren't acting out of anger. They're acting out of love. And for the first time in the General Assembly, we're seeing differences of opinion on tax policy. We don't have a state budget because the House is standing up to the Senate and saying no more income taxes, no more income tax cuts. We need to fund teacher raises. There's still a lot of work to be done, but one of the most powerful things we can do as North Carolinians is know that it doesn't have to be this way. We can imagine a state budget that's focused on our well-being instead of focused on endless tax cuts that consolidate wealth for the few and fail our communities. We want to work with you to demand a well-being budget that's inclusive and transparent, that funds the things that regular people say are their priorities, and that asks corporations and the wealthy to pay what they owe to contribute to our common good. Thank you.